Pat Barrett with Tafoya, Barrett and Associates joins us in the studio today for another segment of It's Your Money. We're going to talk about one of those topics that can be a little sensitive for some people, and that's about settling your estate after you die. Pat, you recommend that you appoint an executor to help settle your estate. What is an executor?
An executor of the estate is essentially a personal representative who has the charge of gathering a decedent's assets and then making sure that their final wishes and affairs are taken care of in an appropriate manner.
Do you appoint an executor in the will, or just anybody can do it, or how do you do it formally?
You know, all individuals should have a will, even if their estate is small and simple. It's just a good planning tool to have in place so that your affairs are taken care of in line with your wishes. And yes, an executor or personal representative should be named beforehand on the front end when you're creating that legal document.
And what should an executor be able to do? What kind of qualities and abilities do you think they should have?
Well, if there's some business activities involved, you want to make sure that the individual has some business experience as well as some experience with personal finances. And also, you want somebody who's familiar with your affairs. Again, whether that be your personal finances, your business activity, and also, you know, any assets or property that you may be holding. It's also a good idea to have an alternate executor listed in the will as well, should something happen to the primary individual that you name. So that's always good to have a backup in place. Naming a family member, you know, works in some situations. It really depends on the complexity of the estate, the assets that may be held, whether the valuation of those assets is fairly straightforward, or if it's something more complex like an operating business or a farm or ranch, you might want to turn to professional advisors, whether that be an accountant, an attorney, or perhaps even a trust department within a bank.
And what are some of the responsibilities that an executor needs to fill out?
Well, an executor, of course, they need to take care of the funeral arrangements and you know, your last wishes. They're also responsible for gathering and protecting your assets, and then also paying off any debts of the decedent. And then they may be charged with having to liquidate some of the decedent's assets, and then they're ultimately responsible, once all the bills have been paid, debts have been paid, assets liquidated, distributing all the assets to the appropriate heirs.
Wow, that's a lot of work for one person. Do you have to be a citizen, or do you have to be a certain age to be an executor?
To be an executor of an estate, you do, in most states, need to be a U.S. citizen of majority age, whatever that age might be in the particular state, usually 18 or 21. And interestingly enough, you also have to be someone who doesn't have any felony charges outstanding against them.
Really?
Yes.
All right. Well, if you don't have a will and you don't have an executor, you better jump on it.
Even the smallest estates, it's a good idea to have a will in place. So again, whoever is the executor and whoever is in charge of administering your estate has some directions from the decedent to fulfill your wishes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Deborah Uroda for It's Your Money.